Hello, winners, and welcome to Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Will. Well, here we go. We're on the home stretch with the NBA and NHL finals. Lots to talk about with that, and looking forward to doing it. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow Two for the Win on your favorite platform. We're on all of them, including YouTube. And also want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, to Hard Rock Bet. You can find them in the link in the description. And if you don't have an account, please consider Hard Rock Bet. I had a few bets. Some worked, some didn't, but it's fun. It adds an element to the game of fun. And who knows? You may get really lucky and make a big bet like my co-host Nick, where he hits on some biggies once in a while. I just play little bets, little fish. He's big fish.
There are a lot bigger fish than me.
Yeah.
They're always
Happy
bigger
Friday,
fish.
Nick.
Happy Friday, winners. How you doing? Hi, Will.
Yeah, good. So where do you want to start? You want to start NHL or NBA?
You pick.
Let's start with NBA because I have some thoughts.
Okay, let's go. Let's just tell our listener that we are, at the time of recording, is 3-2. Of course, we don't have the game of yesterday yet on to talk about, but it's 3-2 at the time of recording for OKC.
Yeah. So we have Game 6 coming up in Indiana. Many people are probably thinking Indiana will win at home, but I would say after looking at Game 5, I have my doubts. And there's two main reasons for the doubts. One is Halliburton's leg health, which obviously he did not look good in Game 5. He was basically a decoy. And then the ref. Like I hate blaming the refs, but in Game 5, it was ridiculous, the discrepancy, in my opinion. Like, there was one play, I think I texted you within the first minute of the game. They literally shoved the Indiana player out of bounds when he had the ball, which is a foul, and they didn't call it. And I don't mind physical play. In fact, I like physical play. I liked when like Jordan and Pistons and the Bulls and the Knicks were going at it. And, I know not everyone likes that style of play, but I don't have a problem with it if it's called fairly both ways. I have to say, it hasn't seemed like it's been called fair both ways. Like, Lou Dort grabs a lot, does a lot of things. And again, I don't mind it if they're going to call it fair. But here's the thing that just really floored me, and it kind of like put a punctuation mark on it. The first time ever in the history of the NBA, a foul got called on a jump ball. They called that foul on TJ McConnell for basically trying to jump. SGA's taller, has better leaping ability, and so he hit SGA's arm trying to hit the ball. It's just because SGA was taller and jumps higher. And they call a foul. And I'm like, all right, it's just not fair. And I think I think it's diminishing. It'll diminish if the Thunder win. And I think it diminishes the finals because it's becoming pretty apparent. But I'm curious of your thoughts if you agree or disagree with that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, Game 4, fourth quarter was clearly like, for me, it's stole. It's not everybody talk about SGA. SGA came alive. I don't disagree. Couldn't disagree more. He literally 9 of the 15 points he scored in the fourth quarter are after travel, huge travel, or after a push, an offensive fault. So yeah, I mean, he's a great player. I'm not saying he's not, but it's the reason why OKC came back and won the game. Now, when it comes to Game 5, you're right. In the beginning of the game, it was flagrant with Neymar as well, go on a offensive transition. He literally got a layup and he got kneed by Dort, and they don't. That's where Carlisle got the technical. I mean,
right.
It's something to miss of a shoulder push or something like that, but missing on a transition, on an offensive transition, when the guy is alone on a layup and he got kneed under the basket and he cannot keep his position for the layup. I mean, that's flagrant. Everybody at the mother saw that. So, but that was a little bit ridiculous. Now, my take is yes, Halliburton was a non-factor. He clearly, I mean, I had what he has. I had actually a
Oh,
tear in
did you?
my calf when I played basketball. So it started with what he had, like before a sprain. I don't know how they called it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I had exactly that. This is so, I would not say painful, but it's super annoying knowing that you have to think about it at all time, because if you don't think about it and you do a change of direction, or which happen all the time in basketball, or you do an acceleration, or you want to jump for the ball, if you don't think about your calf, you're gonna get a strain, or you're gonna get a like a tear. So
Mm.
it's next. It's what's coming next. So the only thing to heal that is rest, which you don't have. So he will still have it. They do treatment, they do highs, they do laser, they do everything that they can do right now for him to appease him. But as soon as you have a change of direction, a jump front or back, or defense back transition back, you will feel something wrong on your calf. And you know that if you do a little bit too much, you tear it. So it's psychologically, it's very hard to play with something like that. Definitely as a point guard who has the ball in his hand, who needs to create and things like that. So I agree with you. I think it's huge. But my big take was middle of the fourth quarter, Indiana Pacers came back to 3 points. They
Yeah.
were 3 points
Actually, it
behind,
was 2 points. 2 points
or
with 8 minutes left. Yeah.
2 points. Yeah, but at 6 minutes there, I remember, because I was fighting to not fall asleep. I was very tired. And it was 3 points at 6 minutes. I'm like, how can Indiana be 3 points behind with 6 minutes to go when OKC dominate the whole entire game?
And
DJ is
Halliburton didn't
the
even have a field
no,
goal
no,
until the fourth.
no. So this again proved that it is a lot closer than people think about. OKC are not as, you know, strong as people think about, and it's a lot closer than what the general public may think. Now you need a star at the end, or a superstar to close, and that's what Halliburton was the whole time. That's what Siakam was a lot of time during the first few rounds, and that's what they're missing now, because Siakam is not at the same level. I mean, he's started. The guy is literally lifting the team pretty much with Halliburton the whole season. So I understand that, but you need a closer, and that's what OKC have. Yesterday, Williams played out of his mind,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
great for him. But when you see the way that OKC played and the way that Indiana was so close at the end of the game, it gives me a little bit the opposite of you. It gives me really time to pause and reflect and see. I think that Indiana will find a way to win the game 6 and force a game 7. Now at this time, you know what happened game 6. So, but I do believe that there's a good chance that Indiana will win game 6, even with Halliburton being like that, playing home. And then, like I said from the start, if there's a game 7, I think they get obliterated game 7, because they're literally
Yeah.
on the last little strain right now to just push through. And if they get to the game 7, I think it's like gonna be like. But that's my take.
Yeah. No, I think if they were calling the game fairly, I would have stronger belief in Indiana, because role players always play better at home. Like the guys that are coming off the bench, they typically feed off the crowd. In general, they play better.
Mm-hmm.
But two interesting stats I heard on the broadcast at Game 5. One was Indiana, from a percentage basis, is shooting better 3-point on the road in the playoffs than at home, which is odd. And then the other one was, and it played out in Game 5, there's something like 20-0. They're undefeated when they score 111 points or more in the playoffs, and when they score under, they're winless. And they scored 109 in Game
I know,
5.
I know.
So yeah,
Yeah, they're
yeah,
winless on the line, under the 11, and they never lost when they score at least 12 points. Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
know. Yeah, so it's a wild stat. I I think, if anything, the finals has shown me anyway. I actually think Indiana's a better team. I really do. The way they come back, like they had no business being that close in the fourth quarter. No business whatsoever. And I think it's not taking away the talent of SGA. He's so smooth. He shoots really well. Williams, when he's hot, he's almost unstoppable. And you know, they have talented players. So it's not a slight against their talent, but it's just to your point, they kept hammering, oh, one of the all-time greatest defensive teams. Well, if they're not calling it fair on both sides, OKC doesn't have to worry about foul trouble like Indiana has to worry about. That shifts the way you play the game. It shifts the way you coach the game in terms of your rotation and stuff. And I just feel I'm not saying it's the only reason OKC may end up winning this series, but it is a big one. And I think if the discrepancy wasn't as wide as what I perceived it to be, I think maybe we're talking about Indiana winning the championship. Again, this is recorded before game 6, so who knows? Maybe there is going to game 7, and maybe Indiana pulls off a miracle, but to me I just feel like there's going to be a lot of what ifs on the Indiana side and for Pacer fans.
No, it's true, and I think it shows again. I mean, like Carlisle is a magician. The way
Yeah.
that he's able to keep this team together with a lot less talent. I mean, I think you're right about the team. The team is better, played better together, Indiana than OKC, but OKC has a lot more talent.
Yes.
Talent
Yes.
wise for OKC is better, even on
Yeah.
the bench. When you say the Wallace kid is probably starting in every single NBA team other than OKC. When you have like the shooter Wiggins, or
Yeah,
I mean,
Wiggins.
so good. And then they have like Mitchell on the bench who barely play, who I think is a fantastic player. I mean, they have the other Williams. I'm not a big fan of the other Williams, but they have 2 other Williams on the bench that are, contributing.
Mm-hmm.
Caruso, all those
Caruso, of
players
course.
are on
Yeah.
the bench. I mean, it's crazy after the starting 5 like being the way they are. So they have the talent, but I think if you put Carlisle in Oklahoma City, that would be a 4-0, 4-1 kind of series for Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And no offense on Dugan. I mean, the coach of Oklahoma City, I think he's a good young coach, but it's the first time at this level, so he needs to learn as well how to do it. And he seemed to be very hard at it, like I mentioned last week, and he confirmed this, I think. So we'll see what's going to happen there. But yeah, I mean, nothing is impossible, but I think they need a closer that they don't have anymore with Halliburton on one leg, and Siakam, you can feel like he needs a break now. So, hey, we're two games away. They're still 2 games away for winning the title. So,
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
I
Sunday,
think go ahead. Sorry.
Thursday.
Finish your point.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. If there's a game 7, it's Sunday. So
Yeah. I think NBA obviously is hoping for a game 7. So who knows? Maybe they pull the refs and say, hey, go a little on Indiana side because they want to squeeze out as much ratings as they can. By the way, just a funny little quip. I think Caruso is still trying to find the different balls every time he went for a layup or dunk in game 5. His stuff was getting thrown. I was like, man, just stay outside, because every time he went inside, he's like, boing, boing, it's getting thrown out. This shit was getting thrown everywhere.
I know it was not his best game neither. So
no. Every time he went up, it's like, boom, there it goes. See ya. He should just stay outside and shoot threes. I wish he would have too, because I had him scoring over 2 or more 3-pointers in that game, and he failed me, and I lost my bet. I ended up doing it.
he didn't do that to you.
He did do that to me. So I was glad he was getting stuff thrown. I figured maybe he'd stay outside, but all right, let's go ahead and pivot. Well, who knows? We could be supposed to be celebrating a Florida Panther championship because they play the day we're recording. They're playing this evening for game 6, but Florida won a pivotal game 5 in Edmonton. I'll let you share your thoughts on this one and kick us off.
Wow, this is wonderful. Like those playoffs are wonderful in hockey. That's insane. And Marchand is the key. I mean, he's I don't know how old he is, but he's getting up there,
37.
and
37.
he's like insane, playing like out of his mind, like
And he had
scoring
three
pass.
surgeries in the offseason. That's why Boston got rid of him.
Oh my! And for a second pick, you can translate to a first pick if he play X amount of game, which he got that first pick. But what a pickup from Florida. The way that Florida plays is remarkable. But they have talent, but they play hardcore. So they play the Detroit basketball from the
Yeah.
90s. That's how they play in hockey. And I love the fact that hockey let that play. But like you mentioned, and our listener Chad was mentioning, is the fact that they play you know if you play Florida's game, you cannot win, and that's what Edmonton did for game 4, game 5, game 3, game 5, and of course when they play like that, they cannot win. I think that they are more talented. Edmonton, on paper, they have the best player in the world, maybe the second best player in the world as well, but they don't have the grind. I said, like, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, if Edmonton had Marchand, they're in, they win. They win 100% for sure. They need a
Oh, yeah.
guy like that. I think
Yeah,
that
an
that's what they
enforcer.
need. Twice in a row going to the Stanley Cup, and I mean it's not over, but maybe now it's over when you listen to it, and losing twice. I think that it's time for them to realize that they need a change in their toughness. I think they have wannabe tough guys, like I said, Nurse, Kane. All those are just trying to be tough, but they are nothing close to what Florida toughness is all about. And so I think that's what's missing, a real tough guy who can do what needs to be done on a hockey court, on a hockey field, to get things done. But they play wonderfully. Like the way that they pass the way their action are. I mean, I can see like a couple of action from the left side when you have like the hockey assist and then the assist for, but it's always the same kind of thing. But they are consistent in what they put pressure on you all game long, pressure, and if you get them the 2 minute penalty, that's over, because they're just putting so much pressure on you that you finish cracking. And I think Edmonton had a lot of those that they couldn't convert, and that's also one of the difference between the two teams. But I will let you give your.
No, no. In my mind, you hit the nail on the head with the word pressure. And that's what Florida does. Their style of play puts pressure. Like Edmonton wants to play the art game. They're like the Sean McVay of hockey. They got all this motion, crisp passing, putting players in position to score, and from a aesthetic point of view, Edmonton plays a pure kind of type of hockey. Florida doesn't allow you to do that. They get in the mud, they muck you up, they take the little shots here and there. They're playing a mental game, and it throws Edmonton off. And your point about pressure, like no matter what is going on in the game, Florida keeps coming. They're putting pressure on the offense because they huddle the middle. Like you see this with teams, but Florida does it really consistently well. There's always four guys in the middle on defense. And some people may argue, well, that affects the sightline of the goalie. But the way they do it, they're like collapsing it in. So there's really only small margins or small windows where Edmonton can get shots in. Where Edmonton scored, from my perspective, and maybe I'm not recollecting it as accurately as what reality has been, but it seems like it's been more fast break, or there was a breakdown in the defense, and they had some windows, and that's where like Connor McDavid, where his moves with the puck are just fascinating, right? And he gets open and does some crazy stuff and scores or assists on a goal. But I mean, Florida, you have to come like the old construction hard hat analogy. You have to be wearing your hard hat. And to your point, I think Edmonton has tried to do it, but it just doesn't. It just doesn't work. They can't win playing that way with Florida. And I think the Panthers, hats off to them. Like to potentially go back to back Stanley Cup champions is a noble feat. And when you figure they won last year and they lost three of their core players, and they went to Toronto. I think Toronto signed all three or two of the three. And and to your point, Marchand, Boston gave up. He spent his whole career with Boston. He's 37 years old, had two or three off-season surgeries. Florida's like, come on down, and he's been like the MVP for the Florida team. And I mean, they have good players, but kind of like Indiana in basketball, Florida, the sum of the parts is greater than the individual parts. Like if you matched up, just like you were saying about OKC talent wise, way better than Indiana, but Indiana plays better as a team, and that's how I feel about Florida Panthers. Edmonton more talented, um, but Florida plays better as a team, and they know their identity and they stay who they are. Now, granted, we could be talking about a game seven in hockey too, depending on what happens tonight.
hmm
But either way, the fact that Florida won it last year and they're either a repeat champion or they're heading into a game seven to become a repeat champion. Let's give a shout out to Florida hockey, Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers. I mean, goodness gracious, they're putting the NHL in their head. And then you got Vegas on the West Coast, another warm weather city. It's really fascinating. Warm weather cities are taking over hockey.
I know, right? No, I agree. That's pretty cool. And we need to say something also about the coach. I think the coach of Florida, Paul Maurice or something. Like he's
Yeah.
this guy inspiring. I mean, we saw you probably saw some clips of him like during the talking to his team on the ice, and the way he talked, the way he inspire, the way
Mhm.
he showed in their face, and just said like, like they're gonna break. We're not gonna break, but we're gonna break them. Like the way he talk, I love. That's the kind of coach I love to play with as a next pro player. Like that's literally like
Mm,
I love that. And I was looking like
that
recently, and
intensity.
he played 28. I mean, he coached for 28 years in the NHL, and it's his third season in Florida and three times Stanley Cup. Like one time lost, one time won, and this time maybe he won already, or maybe he's gonna win the game seven. I don't know, but it's pretty remarkable. And before that, so the 24, 23, 24 years prior to that, he went to Stanley Cup once with Carolina. I believe it was in 2002, and lost the Stanley Cup Finals against Red Flame, I think Detroit. And
Oh
and
yeah.
so that's that's a heck of a career, because I was looking, and outside that, he usually don't miss the playoff, or he lost in the first couple of rounds. But he made one time the Stanley Cup final, and then now in Florida, back to back to back Stanley Cup final. And I love the style that that he coached. So I think it's interesting how a coach can make such a difference in hockey, because we can talk about the importance of a coach in football, in basketball, in hockey, in baseball. I think hockey, it's extremely important, because when you look at names, you can see, again, I'm not the biggest historical guy in hockey at all, but
Mhm.
when I start learning a little bit more about the history of hockey and stuff like that, it seems like the coach is extremely important in that sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we see with Carlisle the importance of coach in NBA. I tend to always say that basketball is probably the sport where the coach has the least effect. More the star player is the most important in basketball. That's always been my take. But there are exceptions, and an exception is a team like Indiana without real superstar, and with a couple half star who become no star and above, able to masterize, their team like Carlisle. But otherwise, when I see people, I mean, like Doc Rivers winning with Boston, it doesn't impress me. When I see a Scare winning with Golden State, it doesn't impress me at all. I think you put like John from around the corner, they do the same thing. So I just, you know, we can talk maybe about that in one of our future episodes during the sport break. So I will call it when
Yeah.
there is no basketball, football, or hockey, but the importance of coaching. But that was something I want to bring up, like Paul Morris, the kind of work that he's able to do with Florida.
Yeah, it's a great point. I do think, yeah, this is a worthy episode because we won't do it justice. But when you in the NBA, you look at some of the great coaches like Phil Jackson, Carlisle, um, uh, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I can't believe it.
Quarterback,
Miami head coach,
Spolstra.
Spolstra. It's to your point, talent can win. Like you can have an average coach but great talent and win. But what these coaches do is they just know the buttons to push on these players as humans. Like you think about Phil Jackson and his Indian kind of rituals and the Zen stuff, but that's what that team needed. He knew the buttons to push. Same with Lakers. He did the same thing with the Lakers. Spolstra. And like with Carlisle, I will say like game 5, this is going to sound probably really silly and trivial to the average fan, but maybe you agree with what I'm about to say. When Carlisle took timeouts, was really smart. Like sometimes coaches wait a little too long to take a timeout to stem momentum. Like they got it down to 2 points, and then OKC hit a 2, then they hit a 3, took a timeout right then and there. A lot of coaches would have let one more possession happen if Indiana would have missed, and then OKC hits another 2 or 3. Now they're down 9 or 10. So even little things about the timing of timeouts, and I think going back to hockey, since we're talking about hockey, to your point, a little bit you touched on the lines. Like when you do the line shifts, who are you making up on those lines? And then obviously with the goalie, you've seen that with Edmonton. Edmonton looks like they don't know which goalie they want to pick, right?
Yeah,
And
that's the
that's,
problem.
and with Florida, their goalie they've stuck with. Like he is there, he's in
Rovsky.
net. They trust him. They trust the defense, and even things like that, like giving confidence to the player. I think the Edmonton coach, granted, if he really doesn't feel like their normal starter is good enough to win right now, you got to make that change. But it's back and forth, and it just looks like we don't know what we're gonna do. And Florida is very steadfast. So your point about coaching is a great one.
Yeah. So yeah, so again, it's hard. You need to navigate some stars, some egos, some people like that when you are. It's not college, Even college now, it's starting to happen within the NIL, but
Yeah.
NIL, but it's different when you are coaching players who make like $1 gazillion. It's very hard to tell them what to do sometimes, and so it's important as a coach to be able to navigate. One of the best to navigate things like that. Where Phil Jackson in the beginning of his career definitely, and then at the end maybe a little bit less. But Popovich did a great job. You have like some coach like that are different based on the way that can handle also superstar and star, and so yeah. But that's probably a good episode to have in the.
I think so. Yeah, you hit on a good one because we could go a lot deeper with a lot of these in variety of sports, candidly. So that'll be good.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up this episode, winners. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to coming back next week with a little more recap of the NBA and NHL finals. But for now, please be sure to subscribe, share, and follow 2 for the Win on your favorite platform. Please check out today's sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. There we go. Say that 5 times fast. For that, and we will catch you next week on the other side. Take care, winners.
Bye, winners.